Hello, and welcome to another episode of Cooking for the Yum of It. I'm your host, Wesley Foreman, and on today's episode, I'm going to be doing a variation on the classic French recipe, the cheese soufflé. I call it a variation because instead of using a soufflé pan and preparing it in the oven, I will be making this one in my slow cooker. Also, to go with the cheese soufflé, I will be making sauce soubise, which is a traditional accompaniment of the cheese soufflé. So, let's get started. Now the first thing you need to do is prepare 14 slices of white bread. That's almost an entire loaf, depending on what bread you use. And before we go any further, we have to remove the crusts. Now this is a new thing for me because I've never been one to forgo the crust. I'll even eat the crusts from the pizza at the end. And then you put them into small pieces, about 1 inch or so. And we set these aside, and we move on. Now we're going to need 3 cups of sharp shredded cheese, divided more or less equally. You never have too much cheese in your refrigerator, but make sure you eat it in a timely manner or it will go bad. No one wants that. Now we will take some non-stick cooking spray and generously grease our slow cooker. And we add the first part of our breadcrumbs. This is, I should know if you call them breadcrumbs, are sliced bread. This is about 7 live loaves there. Then half of our cheese. And now we take 2 tablespoons of our butter, we pour that in there, although I am using Smart Balance. Now we repeat that process with the other half of our bread. Okay, the remaining portion of our cheese, and the remaining 2 tablespoons of our butter, or in this case Smart Balance margarine, and we move on. Now before we move on, we need to scald our milk. You want to do this on a low medium. I have mine set at somewhere between 3 and 4 on the stovetop dial. And once it starts, I don't know if you can see this, but once we get the bubbles around the edge and steam starts to rise, that's when we'll know that it's reached the correct temperature. We need to scald it for 5 minutes. So let's jump ahead. Okay, we've now reached the correct temperature. So we need to stir this constantly for the next 5 minutes. Remember, you want to scald your milk. You don't want to have it start boiling. If that starts, what you want to do immediately is lower the temperature. You want tiny bubbles, like the song. You don't want great big old huge boiling bubbles. You want scalding bubbles in the milk. Scalding bubbles in the milk. Can't think of anything to rhyme with that. I'm not a Don Ho. Okay. Wonder how many people, aside from maybe my Aunt Kathy, will get the Don Ho reference without having to Google it. Anyway, let's go ahead to when we're done with this part. Well, as you can see, we went a little bit overboard, but only at near the very end. So now that our milk is scalded, we're going to move this over here and we're going to let it cool for about 5 minutes. Okay, it's been 5 minutes, but the milk is still a little bit too warm and I don't want to use it just yet. And also you'll see that a skin has formed. We're going to take that off because we don't really need that part. And the skim just doesn't really taste as good as the rest of it. So let's wait another 5 minutes to see if the milk is cooled sufficiently and we will proceed. Okay, it has now been about 20 minutes and it's a bit warmer than I would like, but steam is no longer rising, and you can do this, by the way, instead of using a spoon to see if there's any skin. It'll come up with your finger, but no more skin, so we're going to move on to the next step. Now here we have 6 large eggs. I'm going to take half a teaspoon of salt and 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce, and beat that a little. And then rearrange my positions for everything. And we're going to beat our eggs while we slowly pour in our scalded milk. And I think this bowl is too small, so I'm going to move it to a larger bowl. And here we have our larger bowl. So, let's go on. There we go. And we move on. Now we pour our egg mixture over our bread and cheese and butter that we put in earlier. And I'm not sure about the foam. I'm going to put it in anyway, just to see what happens. Could be interesting. Now we cover our soufflé. We plug this in, and we are going to cook this on low for approximately 4 to 6 hours. So manual, temp on low, start. and I will be back no sooner than 4 hours. Okay, I don't know how well you can see, but the souffle is looking excellent to me. We've got another half an hour, maybe an hour before it's done. And in that time, I am now going to start making the sauce Soubise. First step in making the sauce Soubise is to melt 3 tablespoons of butter over a medium-low heat. As the butter is melting, you're now going to slice 1 yellow onion. You'll notice I said slice, not dice. Take off the onion skin there. Okay, now we put our onion in the butter. And we toss that. Put the butter all in there. That seems like such a small amount. I'm going to double check my recipe and see if I need to add any more butter. So I'll be right back. Okay, now we are going to cover this and let it cook on a medium-low temperature for about, let's say 20 minutes. Now that the 20 minutes is over, we're going to, that smells good. We're going to add 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. And we're going to stir this, oh, pardon my arm, stir this for 3 minutes. These are one of the recipes that really don't make sense to me, but the first time I ever make something, as I was telling my roommate Michael, I follow the recipe to the letter. It's only after I've made something a couple of times, sometimes, that I will add my a la Wesley touches. A little extra garlic here, a little extra pepper here, there. Now, we also need to get 1 cup of hot milk, which this time is being prepared in the microwave. Turn this up just a little bit. One of the reasons you want to do this is so it doesn't stick too badly to the bottom of your pan, to make cleaning more difficult. But that's really not that big a concern. With glass pans like this, anything that gets scorched on the bottom, I've developed the habit of using Easy Off. It doesn't work just on ovens, it's great for getting burnt off food from your pots and pans. And no, they are not giving me any money for this. Bad joke. Okay, 3, 2, 1. 3 minutes are up. Now we are going to add our hot milk, and we're going to whisk that in so that we don't get any lumps. Put our measuring cup aside. We want this to be very, very smooth. Now that we've finished the whisking, we're going to take a little taste here. And, pardon me, we need to salt and pepper this to our preferred taste. Okay, we're going to start with small amounts. 1/4 teaspoon of salt and of pepper. Remember, you never want to put too much of either in, because you can always add more, but it is impossible to take out if you've got too much. So let's try this again. Much better. But I am going to add, get the correct measuring spoon. I'm going to add just 1/8 of a teaspoon each of the salt and pepper, just a little bit more. Screw the lids back on, because it'd be very embarrassing if someone reached for the salt shaker and all the salt came off on their food. They wouldn't like that. I wouldn't like that. Okay, it's looking good. Reminds me a little of my grandma's bacon grease gravy. I really need, or as I called it in a previous episode, the hillbilly bechamel. Perfect, much better. No need for anything else. Now we're putting it back on the heat, and we're going to bring this up to a low simmer for about, what does it say, 15 minutes, stirring occasionally, or whisking in this case. And add 1 extra ½ tablespoon of butter. So maybe I am doing a little extra a la Wesley touch there. So, see you in 15. Okay, I've turned the heat down just a bit. I'm concerned with it being more than a simmer, but it really does look excellent. It does look almost like a white sauce, like a bechamel sauce. And I can tell already this is going to go so well with the cheese souffle. Okay, we can now turn off our heat, stir this a little more, and once it stops simmering, we will move on to the next step, which is to run this through either a blender or a food processor. I don't really have a blender, so we will be using my food processor. And I hope it will come out the way it's supposed to. So let's go on. Okay, in our sauce goes. Probably could have cooked this at a lower temperature, but I'm not going to complain. Let's scrape that off. Put on our lid. And we puree the hell out of it. Okay, now take a look at that. It looks pretty good. I'm going to take a tiny little taste test, see how well it pureed. Smooth, creamy, oniony, perfect. Now it's time to see if our soufflé is done souffléing. Insert the knife. And it comes out clean. It's ready to serve. Okay. Ooh. Oh, look at that. And we put the helping of our soufflé on the plate. And oh, let's get some of this edge piece here. Then we add, oh, sorry about that. We add our sauce Soubise. And just as a delightful garnish, a sprinkling of parsley. And there you have it, a cheese soufflé with a sauce Soubise. Okay, this is always my favorite part, eating. Oh, so good. Oh, that is truly amazing. I am so glad I made this. And if you try making it yourself, you will be too. So anyway, that's it for now. I am again Wesley Foreman. Thank you for watching Cooking for the Yum of It. Please like if you enjoyed the video. Feel free to comment below. And don't forget to subscribe. You know you want to. Until next time, eat and enjoy.